You are a group that are hugely important to the university. You're our history, you are our ambassadors, you are our memory, you hold our feet to the fire and hold us responsible and accountable for what we say we will do. So we need you desperately. And you are the group, when I look at any audience, any group of people, I wonder about commitment sometimes to the university. When I look at alumni, I know this is a group that truly bleeds green. This is a group deeply, deeply committed to the university. So I did want to have a chance to welcome you, to tell you how important it is that you made the time to come be with us this evening, and to particularly say congratulations to everybody who is here receiving an award. And I knew I would never remember the names, so I specifically want to acknowledge our 4 new honorary alumni members here this evening: David, Brian, Laurel, and Lucy. You've had very long and productive careers with the university, and we are ecstatic to be able to continue that relationship.
Good evening again, alumni and guests. It's wonderful to see you here tonight. And based on the lively conversations that I was overhearing, it looks like you're having a great time. We're all here tonight for one reason, and that's to celebrate. We'll celebrate our common bond as alumni and supporters of the university. We will celebrate the great future our university has. And most importantly, we're here to celebrate 5 accomplished individuals who have proven to be great ambassadors of the University of Saskatchewan, our Alumni Achievement Award recipients. And then, as an added bonus, we get to officially welcome 4 individuals into our alumni family as honorary alumni. Would also like to recognize some very special guests this evening. We have 2 former chancellors with us, and glad you could come, Vera Pezer and Ted Turner. Thank you for coming out, and it's great to see you. We have many U of S donors here this evening, and I want to acknowledge and thank you for your continuing support of the U of S, our programs, and our students. A large portion of donations from our generous alumni donors supports the student scholarships, and you continue to be an important part of a vibrant and growing university community. Tonight's reception would not be possible without our sponsors. A huge thanks goes to TD Insurance, Meloche Monarchs, Industrial Alliance Insurance and Financial Services, and BMO Bank of Montreal. Not only are these companies sponsors of tonight's events, they're partners with the U of S, offering group products and services to U of S alumni, and some proceeds from these products and services come back to the U of S to fund scholarships and alumni programming. We have a full program, so we'll get started right away. With us tonight is the University Chancellor, Blaine Fable. Blaine, an influential Plains Cree leader who has made significant contributions to scholarship, education, public service, and the Canadian public good, is the 14th Chancellor of the University of Saskatchewan. He received his Bachelor of Education degree from the U of S through the Indian Training Teacher Education Program. He went on to earn his law degree at Queen's University and a Master's of Business Administration degree from Harvard Graduate School of Business. Blaine's a former chief of the Poundmaker Cree Nation near Cutknife, Saskatchewan, and served as Grand Chief of the Federation of Saskatchewan Indian Nations. He was appointed Canadian Counselor on International Indigenous Issues by Prime Minister Chrétien, advising the Foreign Affairs and International Trade Minister on human rights and trade issues affecting Indigenous people globally. He was also a senior personal advisor to 2 Assembly of First Nations chiefs, Ovid Mercredi and Phil Fontaine. Blaine's currently CEO of One Earth Oil and Gas and volunteers his time with organizations addressing homelessness and Aboriginal education. Please join me in welcoming Chancellor Blaine Fable.
Thank you, Peter, and good evening. Blaine Fable Sigashan. Just in my language, I said it's an honor that you've come tonight, and I introduced my name. I'd like to acknowledge Chancellor Pezzer, Chancellor Emeritus. I used to say Chancellor Emeritus, and somebody corrected me. That was wrong. And also Ted Turner, who I just met a little bit earlier. It's kind of embarrassing when they read the bios, because my bio is a little bit long, and one of the alumni was kind enough to ask me how old I was, and I said, well, I'm 48 years old. She says, but you're so much older. You seem to have done so much. Well, I said, I don't know how to take that. But I told her I had a hard time keeping a job, right? I kept on, so I've got so much on my background. I noticed when I did some research tonight that there's been lots of comments made about the fact that I'm our first Aboriginal Chancellor, of which I'm quite proud. But I'm not the first chief. I'm actually the second chief, because there was a former chief that some of you may recall, who was called Chief Standing Buffalo, and that was the Right Honourable John Diefenbaker, and was the 7th Chancellor of the University of Saskatchewan. So I can honestly say I don't have dibs on being the first chief. I'm the second chief of the institution. So, and there's 140,000 of us, and it's events like this that make us feel very much like family. I know when I live in Calgary now, and I work in Calgary, and some of the brightest and the most brilliant people that we have working in the oil patch and in Calgary and the financial institutions are U of S alumni. And you run into U of S alumni everywhere you go in this country. Great accomplishments in government, great accomplishments in industry, and something that we shall be very proud of is Saskatchewan people, or residents of Saskatchewan, or people from this province, and from alumni of this institution. It's a really pleasure to welcome you all. Thank you for coming to honor some very deserving recipients of this award tonight. I think we have much to be proud of in this institution. We have many, many brilliant days ahead of us, and by the quality of the recipients tonight speaks much to the success of the institution and the future of this institution. So thank you very much. I hope everybody has a wonderful night, and thank you for the invitation.
At the Alumni Association annual general meeting this past spring, our alumni approved honorary alumni status for 4 individuals who have long-standing relationships with the university. We're happy to have them here with us this evening and officially welcome them into our alumni family. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Emeritus Dave Kaplan.
When I arrived here in 1960, first person I met was Dr. J.B. Kirkpatrick. He had been touring some of the universities in the Big Ten. They had already selected a person from Toronto, where else, to head up a new program in music education. But evidently this chap came down to visit, and it was not terribly nice, looked at the almanac, turned around, and headed back to Toronto. It's probably still there. So here I am, and we're going to establish a new program in music education. I don't think I've ever received as much support from any administrative official as I did from J.B. Kirkpatrick. He actually listened to my suggestions, but I listened to him, and I listened to people that I met the first couple of years, R.J. Staples, provincial supervisor of music. And you know, after a few years, we had a booming program. Students were enthusiastic. They didn't have a lot of good equipment around. There wasn't any good equipment around, but they were innovative. An old broom handle became a substitute for a bassoon. You'd be surprised what you can do with an old broom handle. And after a few years, the faculty began to grow. Community-minded individuals, which we all wanted. First-class musicians, first-class teachers. And I think out of all of that came a number of very fine students teaching all over the universe, so it seems. But not only teachers, composers as well, and performers. The university put up with me for some 50 years. I put up with them too. So we learned to agree and so forth. If they could take me, I could take them. The truth of the matter is, I've enjoyed my stay here. It's been wonderful. And I don't think I have anything more to say than thank goodness I met Dr. Kirkpatrick and enjoyed the winters. Thank you so much.
Next, we welcome Professor Emeritus Brian and Laurel Rosnagel to our alumni family.
Well, thank you very much. I tried to convince Laurel that it was her turn to stand at the microphone, but she wouldn't do it. This is really a special award for both of us. You know, you get some awards as you get a little bit long in the tooth and so on and so forth, and most of them for myself have been associated with some achievement or accomplishment in my work and research and so on. But this one is really, really special because it's really, really different. And as I've said to a number of you, the University of Saskatchewan Alumni Association has now treated me better than my own alma mater ever did. I come from the University of Manitoba, and they have a little bit of trouble at the association they're seeing outside the perimeter of Winnipeg, it seems to some of us. A lot of us here at the University of Saskatchewan, particularly in the College of Agriculture, are graduates of the University of Manitoba, and we've always admired the University of Saskatchewan Alumni Association and things like the Ag Grads group and so on. We just don't have that back home in Manitoba. There are a few little bits and pieces once in a while. One class seems to manage to do it, but not the way it's done here at the U of S. The other thing that's been a great pleasure for both Laurel and I, and this was really through Laurel's work, was one of the rules that Laurel laid down when we first came here back in 1977 was that if I traveled internationally, she was going with me, unless whoever she was working for, and kind of like Chancellor Flavel, she's had a lot of jobs on campus. She's been in every, they've even missed some departments and colleges Laurel worked for. I just worked in one. At any rate, we did have the opportunity then, when Laurel was in doing the alumni things, that when I was going to some conference someplace in Australia or whatever, we would get our way figured around and work around to host alumni events in whatever part of the world we were going to. And one of some of the neatest experiences we had were in places like Perth, Australia, and Christchurch, New Zealand, and so on, where we'd get, you know, only maybe 10 or 12 people who would show up, but some of the most fascinating people that I've ever met, mathematicians and oil geologists and people who were 25 years old and people who were 85 years old. Just a fascinating thing we had to do. And one of the things that I'll always remember is from my international travels is almost everywhere I went, I'm not a jogger, but I'm an early riser. And when I'm in strange places, I just go wandering around and find a cup of coffee or whatever I can find to drink in the morning. And one of the things that's so interesting, and one of the best things this university has ever done, is whoever came up with the idea of putting the husky paws on the butt end of those shorts. Because I have seen those going down streets in Sydney, Australia. I've seen them going down streets in Scandinavia, and it's just amazing. Unfortunately, I can never catch up to the people to talk to them. At any rate, as I said, Laurel and I are so pleased with this recognition. And it really is truly unique, and we thank you greatly.
Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Professor Emerita Lucy Willis as an honorary alumni of the U of S.
I'm afraid I'm not going to be as witty as the last two speakers, but I'll do my best. I have had a delightful 2 or 3 weeks. As soon as word of this came out, all kinds of people started phoning me, former students, former colleagues, and I have enjoyed it very, very much. It's been by phone and by personal visits and by letters. I've actually had full, long letters from some of you. I'm very proud to have been made an honorary member of the alumni of the University of Saskatchewan when I was, where I was a professor here for 30 years. I'm sure some of you remember it's been a long time. I am proud to become as a member. I'm aware of the very high reputation of this university and of the wonderful work done by the graduates. I'm proud of every one of our nursing graduates who do great jobs where they are situated. It's a great privilege to join you, and I thank you very, very sincerely.
Now we get to meet our distinguished Alumni Achievement Award recipients. First, the Honorable Charles Mayer.
First of all, I want to say thank you to the Alumni Association for this recognition. It's very special. And when Wanda phoned me, I have to give you a little confession. She went through and outlined what this award was, and I said, listen, Wanda, before you get too far along, in the interest of full disclosure, I really didn't get a degree. I was such a terrible student, and I came back so often that they gave me a degree finally on promise that I would go home and never come back. So to be here and be recognized is quite special for me. Agriculture has always been my life and always will be. I grew up on a farm just south of Handley, east of Haywarden. And on a farm, in those days, you learn individual responsibility and accountability. And those are things that you take throughout your life. I was also very fortunate to be not a bad athlete, and I had a chance to play university basketball. Pat Lawson is here, a coach that we had at Newtana Collegiate for my sisters. And I had a conversation with Pat coming in. You learn a lot about life and a lot of things with athletics. I've been very fortunate. I was very fortunate to grow up in the family I had, and especially my mother. We learn a lot of values from our mothers, and especially at a time in a farm home when there was no electricity or no running water. It was amazing what could be accomplished with individual ingenuity and perseverance. So for me, this is quite special because my whole life has been agriculture, and be recognized in what I've been able to be involved with agriculture. And just to say a couple of things in conclusion, I've been very, very fortunate in life with both friends and family. And my three daughters are here with me this evening, Holly, Sharon, Judel. I see an old basketball friend of mine, Mel Malkin, and Elaine. We went to school, public school. I want to thank Dr. Loring Hempworth and Bill Cooper, who's here this evening, and Harry Hill, who wrote letters supporting me. I'll be always thankful and grateful to them. And we should never, ever, in my view, take agriculture for granted. I've had a chance to travel in many parts of the world, and when people spend 50, 60, in some cases more percentage of their time feeding themselves, they don't have time for the things that we take for granted, like civil liberties and 40-hour works weeks and penicillin and all of those things. And it's all, in my view, not all I should say, a big part of it, because we feed ourselves. Food is so plentiful, it's never back ordered, and that's because of farmers, and that's because of the individual responsibility and ingenuity that farmers exemplify. So for that, thank you very much for recognizing me, and I thank you for recognizing how important agriculture is to our country. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Don Mitchell.
My story is really a tale of two campuses. And it's obviously a great privilege to be part of this event among such esteemed recipients as we accept recognition from our fellow alumni of the University of Saskatchewan. But I do have fond relationships with the Regina campus, which was part of the umbrella at that time. The Regina campus of the U of S in the mid-1960s was really an intense learning environment, a cultural immersion for a whole generation of students on the rights, the challenges, the possibilities of real citizenship in pursuit of social change. At the campus, we didn't achieve the level of changes we'd hoped, but we did make real impact and initiated substantial changes in values, attitudes, and institutions, both on and off the campus. Shared participation in university decision-making, student-run housing co-ops, peace and environmental movements that extended into the community were part of the legacy of that time, along with the emergence of the University of Regina in the mid-1970s as a separate and unique institution. And for me, that special university experience and my involvement in student journalism, student unionism, established values and a frame of reference for community development and social change that's lasted for a lifetime. Historian James Pizzula, in his book, New World Dawning, about the Regina campus of the 60s, quoted me from March 67 at the end of my term as student president saying, "The issues we've worked on, housing, greater accessibility, policy for a more free, more democratic university, were directed toward one goal, the building of a spirit of community on the campus. If we can establish an atmosphere in which the learning experience extends beyond the classroom and labs, then we've accomplished something important." Working through cooperation and collaboration to build community has been the cornerstone of my philosophy in my teaching role. I was also a teacher at the Regina campus and extension classes. The challenging and rewarded years with the Churchill Park Greenhouse Co-op, municipal government, interagency work on community development, involvement in the drive for better food security and a sustainable system of local food production. In all of these engagements, I've survived and achieved some measure of success only as part of a collective of individual dedicated people, including my family, who are here with me tonight, two of whom are graduate alumni of the U of S. In accepting this award, I want to acknowledge and thank my nominators and the U of S alumni, along with the many people and groups I've worked with, including family members. This includes the faculty of the University of Regina who nurtured me through the university experience, the Carillon and Student Union Collectives, Wascana Student Housing Co-op, workers at the Greenhouse Co-op, my many university extension students, municipal councils, past and present, the Moose Jaw Regina Farmers Markets, the Saskatchewan Health Coalition and Council of Canadians, Regional Intersectoral Committee across the province, and the Palliser New Democrats Riding Association, who so strongly supported me in my single bid for federal office. I don't have the illustrious career of Charlie Mayer, but we do share a passion for food and agriculture. I thank all of them and salute their part in achieving this recognition, which I see as a collective recognition for the student activism of the 60s that led to community action, and for the U of S alumni for our collective efforts in the community. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next is Dr. James Ogloff. Dr. Ogloff is unable to join us this evening. Living in Australia might have something to do with that. But Dr. Natalie Polvey is here to receive the award on his behalf.
So I'll read his remarks that he sent. I apologize you'll miss his wit and his humor, but I'll read what he sent and I think you'll get an idea. I was absolutely delighted to learn that I was selected for University of Saskatchewan Alumni Achievement Award. I would like to sincerely thank those who nominated me, Mark Oliver and Linda McMullen, and the selection panel. This is an incredible honor, and I'm humbled. I wish I could be there to extend my gratitude in person and to share the evening. Unfortunately, the distance and the timing have made it impossible for me and my wife, Kathleen, to attend. It has been almost 3 decades since I commenced my master's degree in clinical psychology at the U of S. I only studied there for 2 years. I have now studied at or held academic positions at 9 universities. The training and experiences I've had at the U of S were particularly significant, and I have left an indelible and positive impact on me. At the time I undertook my master's degree in clinical psychology at the U of S, there were only 5 such programs in Canada. I was drawn to the U of S given the strength of the program and the relationship with the Regional Psychiatric Centre, given my interest in forensic psychology. There were no forensic psychology programs in Canada at the time, and the U of S was my first choice. It was the right choice. While at the U of S, I was fortunate to be in the clinical psychology program with fantastic and inspiring faculty and a wonderful cohort of students, some of whom have become lifelong friends. In particular, my master's supervisor, Dr. Stephen Wong, who was an adjunct member of the psychology department for approximately 30 years, was an excellent mentor and friend over many years. It was at the U of S that I realized that my interests cut across clinical work, research, and teaching. It was there that I decided the academic life, coupled with clinical practice, was for me. I have never looked back. I was also fortunate while at the U of S to serve as the graduate student representative on a university strategic planning committee chaired by then President Leo Christensen. This inspired me to serve in university administration. In January 2014, the research center I direct is moving from Monash University to Swinburne University, also in Melbourne, Australia. The Vice Chancellor, or President of that university, is Leo Christensen's niece, Linda. It is a small world. My connection to the U of S includes shared memories with my wife, Kathleen, who moved with me shortly after our wedding. It seemed a long way from her home in Calgary. She commenced her university degree in the Faculty of Education, but moved with me to the United States, where I pursued further training, and she completed her university education. I share any accomplishments that I have made with her, including this award, since she has been a constant support and companion, having moved with me to 6 jurisdictions in 3 countries. She is a wonderful partner and mother to our children. I simply could not have succeeded without her by my side. Taken together, my time at the U of S and the opportunities it has afforded me has served me so well throughout my career and life. I follow the ongoing changes and events at the U of S, and I'm always proud to say I am an alumnus of the University of Saskatchewan. Thanks so much again for honoring me with this award.
Next is Professor Emeritus Dufferin Spafford. Duff is unable to join us this evening, so here to accept the award on his behalf is his daughter, Sarah, and Peter Spafford.
It's not easy, but it's an honor to speak for my father. I'll introduce my family members that are here today. My sister, Sarah, who graduated from the University of Saskatchewan. She's an art conservator in White Rock, BC. She doesn't like speaking, so handed it over to me. My wife, Deidre, who's a great supporter of my professional career and clinical professor at the University of Saskatchewan that I am, and she's a great friend of my father's. Great relationship. My mother, Shirley, Duff's wife, pillar of strength. I could go on forever. My daughter, Megan, who is in her 3rd year of university at the University of Saskatchewan. I'll be very brief. I want to thank the Alumni Association on behalf of my dad, our family. I want to thank the Alumni Association and everyone present today. My dad was extremely passionate about his work at the university during his employment. He was equally passionate when he retired. He made great friends. Many of those friends are here today. Many of those friends have become my friends. And just as a closing remark, my dad was incredibly loyal to this university, the University of Saskatchewan. He had great pride in it, and he did impart that into myself and my family, and I thank you very much.
The final award this evening is to recognize the achievements of young alumni. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Farah Mateen.
Well, good evening, and I just want to say how extremely pleased and privileged I feel to receive this award. And I'm looking right at Kelly McGuinness, who in winter of 1999, who was with the awards office at the University of Saskatchewan, called me after classes at high school and told me that I had won the President's First and Best Award, a scholarship that allowed me 4 years of university training at the University of Saskatchewan, basically unfettered, so unable to pursue the course of my choice and to participate as fully as possible in university academic life. And I have to say that these early investments in my career have allowed me in large part to do what I do today and have instilled a lot of confidence in me from the university. And everywhere I go, I get to talk about the University of Saskatchewan and Saskatchewan in general, and it's sort of the bird's eye view at times, because I get to think about Saskatchewan in a way I never got a chance to when I lived here. And many people ask me about Saskatchewan. I get to talk about the geography in particular, about the Northern Lights and the robust campus and the sort of beautiful buildings that are all collected in one place, and the safeness of the campus that allows men and women alike to sort of thrive here. So that is something that we take for granted, but is not paralleled elsewhere. I can tell you I've been to many medical schools who don't have sanitation and who don't have the faculty and the investment that the University of Saskatchewan does. And so just a few things that sort of make the University of Saskatchewan special. I just want to mention 3 words in particular. Cooperation, the way that transdisciplinary work is possible here between all of the different colleges. The continuum between administration and faculty and students. In many places, they're the student body and the faculty body and the administrators, and they don't necessarily talk to each other as much as they should, and they don't necessarily mesh. But when I came, I had excellent role models, Peter McKinnon, Gordon Barnhart, Vera Pezer, Peggy McKercher, and I can name several others who were always invested in the student body, and that really makes a difference. And then finally, community. So you really get the sense here that the University of Saskatchewan is the people's university and is the university of the province. And many other universities, no matter how good their name is, struggle for that type of outreach and that type of community building. And they have to sit and think about how can we interface with the community. And in Saskatchewan, that just comes naturally. And I think that's the pragmatism and the optimism of the people. And so everybody here always told me different things are possible. And whenever I doubted it, I think I've always had the support of people back home, people who are sitting here right now. And it's been extremely a real privilege. 2 weeks ago, I was able to speak at the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, where I got to talk about Saskatchewan. Tomorrow, I'm going to Rio de Janeiro to talk about global health, where Saskatchewan will come up again. And next month, I'll be going to Bangladesh, where people ask me where I'm from. And I have to explain where Saskatchewan is often in Bangladesh. But it's always an extreme honor. And I'm very deeply privileged to be among this group here tonight, who has obviously accomplished a great deal. So thank you very much.
Thank you to everyone for celebrating our Alumni Achievement Award recipients this evening. The awards are given annually, so start thinking about nominating a U of S alumnus for next year, and nominations are open year-round.